All right, everybody, let's get to it. Tuesday. How's everyone doing today? Uh, just quick shout out to the chat. Wanted to post the disclaimer and got some updates that are going to come pretty soon on that intro stream. Shout out to you, Dustin. I've got actually most of what I need, so I'll get with you later today and tomorrow, hopefully. And a few other changes that'll come in the new year where I think I want to integrate some more kind of live action and with the broader overview stuff that we do, look at markets, look at stocks, commodities, crypto, whatever. But I'd like to do more of the 5 minute thing. So let me know how you guys feel about that. The last several ones that we've looked at, the last several sessions, I've been trying to come in and say, hey, take a look at something like this for today. If, for example, here's the SPY right now. Bring this over. Really interesting 5 minute chart on the SPY. And you're seeing this. So again, we're working with Harmonic Pattern Collection for TradingView. And coming into the day this morning, as there's actually 2 or 3 trades there, right off the SPY is simple reaction right on the open. And this was so classic because this is something where in real time, just when you can walk through it, learn how to position for it as a day trading opportunity, then I think things click so much more because look, it was a type 1 crab in the pre-market, goes to minimum target 1, but sails right on through in the first hour and then checks back. You're an hour in, you're up, and you had a nice unexpected rally probably after yesterday, but didn't matter. The pattern that developed here said, okay, some kind of intraday bounce. Still followed type 1, type 2 rules. And that's why I want to focus more on this 5 minute stuff. That 5 minute type 1 reaction was over on the check back. It was so perfect on the 5 minute. All the things we've been talking about in the last 2-3 weeks, especially since last Saturday with the seminar, where you have HSI checks back 1-2 and go and just complete all the way down and playing it almost straight to the next HSI check back. For those that don't know what HSI is, Harmonic Strength Index, HSI check back, please get with Harmonic Pattern Collection. So go to harmonictrader.com. And I think some people are not finding the videos, HSI videos on the basic members page. Everything you want to see to get started, the books, software trials, all on the basic members page. But I'm going to update that. I'm going to update this library. So the basic members library has all the, a ton of stuff on built. You can work through the whole thing. Okay, and then we have much more advanced stuff on the gold members, silver members. But some of the HSI sequencing and checkback stuff is available. Check out the course, part 3 course, I think in particular, and then there's other videos. I'm gonna probably I'll highlight those in the Discord as well. The mods have been posting that, and I think there's a couple that people need to watch that you're not getting. But this morning, the 5 minute SPY, and just to start off with this, again, looking for intraday opportunities. We're in that kind of a market. We're going to stay in that kind of a market and plan for it. You're going to have to be, I think, can't sit on your hands. The 12 more months, maybe 18 more months, expect the same kind of behavior of what we saw in the last 6 to 8. Not necessarily the whole year, but we're going to be in a real grind. This is not going to be easy until the larger just the larger scenario of getting back to interest rates and inflation in a spot where they can get easy money going again. Most people that started this century, all they really know is the easy money, and these are some of the highest rates they've seen, but they're not really that relatively historically high. So coming into, the end of the year, folks, the thing here for stuff like the major indices after the last several days, I found it really interesting. The SPY just hit target 1 now off the shark. All reaction. No confirmation, and almost hitting the bullish over sold. Probably going to take another 2 more days to test that zone and then pop out. But start looking here, 379 maybe. But you would still need HSI to end it, basically setting off the type 2 return from 379 on SPY. Retest the shark. Not until we get HSI. So be aware that SPY and a few others are dipping down here. What are they going to do, though? Can this hold? This morning's action, there's some things happening down here for sure. The reaction off of the SPY, even though it completed way back in, end of November, it's just been about the last 6 days. Pretty brutal. Really tough to say. There's long opportunities here. I've gone through a bunch of them that we were looking for them to go back and retest the lows, the PayPals of the world, stuff like that. Probably just need to be a little more patient. Let me go to the futures, S&P. Again, there are things here. There's a reason why today is trying to stabilize. We have this S&P futures, the continuous contract is all about the bat pattern. Let's just get some clear numbers. 41.40 to 38.33. That's your, call it the harmonic range, if you will. But minimum upside, downside. It's just that this was so surprising, this test and reversal. It's almost, I don't know, I don't want to say artificial, but I'm absolutely stunned by the price action of hitting the retest of the bearish pattern and then just getting so rejected that I wouldn't want to. I'll wait for that. It hit the target at 38.33 this morning. But where's HSI? Anything else oversold yet? And that's just coming into the zone this morning. Amplified almost there, but didn't hit. And then look at standard RSI. It could absolutely plummet down here as you get lighter trading into the end of the year. And then before you know it, you're coming back as low as some of these prior lows from October already. So this is again probably one of the trickiest reversals in a major index reversing. And here's the final thing about S&P, and again, it's probably the nastiest candle of the entire bear market so far on the weekly. Take a look at the last couple of continuations. We came up and retested the downtrend resistance. I think everyone was looking at that. Tried to flash above it. I don't think anyone expected this thing to blast right off, but the rejection of it at the key level is the biggest engulfing candle for sure of the three. I mean, you've got that large and ideal reversal, another secondary reversal after a doji, but not as big. This one, it was pretty big, but the wick and the nature of not only that candle, but the follow through here is something that until we can get a counter trend bullish signal, I wouldn't be even too surprised if you spent the better part of the next several weeks doing some kind of like large ABCD back down. Maybe try to do this and come down and work your way back to a bat. But there's nothing off of that that would suggest, okay, that's a one-off, a 1 week. If anything, it's probably the start of like a 7-8 week drop. No Santa rally, Dave. I'm sorry. Even if you have one, I do think that there are a number of situations that are trying to go into return phase that if they do, you're going to have problems. I'll get to a few of those. I just think the SPY situation with the shark pattern, let's keep an eye on it. You're hitting some levels today for sure. Structural levels. Need confirmation. You're hitting oversold on HSI today. That's pretty important. Amplified HSI is oversold coming out of the zone. But what do we want to see? Off of that target one, the strongest move is going to be the retest. Just structurally. But let's take this for today. Let's go to a couple of the big name stocks that just things to be thinking about into the end of the year of what this stuff is going to do. Here's Nvidia on the daily, and this is, did a 50% move since October, and I know it's gotten crushed ever since. Not a heck of a lot up here. The daily pattern, check it out. A big bat pattern. I'm not crazy about it because it's really violated the hop at 155, and it's done nothing. Goes sideways. I would not be surprised to have this just come back down and continue to go sideways, plus minus $10 of this 155 hop level. And the rejection, certainly not able to get above the August peak. And then look at what you did the last 8 days. So I'm looking at that as extremely unusual, nasty behavior. 7 days in a row, straight down. Okay, with 6 red candles. Sorry, 5 red candles, 6 down in a row. But is this the start of some kind of larger formation where we're back down? We're just another 886 as you grind lower on something like Nvidia. Go to the 5-minute. This is a classic 5-minute day trader to be looking at, and it has a propensity to give us some nice patterns time to time. Today, beautiful deep crab, but just simple reaction. Hop 158 to 162, but right back down for a type 2. I would treat this even on a 5-minute basis under 158.70. This whole little deep crab is over, and it just continues lower. That's where you are. It just seems like it has sliced it already, that your 161, your bigger levels structurally are, if the hop level is kind of like a medium area, it's not really full support, but just use that as kind of the midpoint, plus minus. Really on the downside, your support's like 145. couple more of these. And I'm looking for entries. I think put positions, if these can give them where they don't, if they don't trigger a bullish HSI, or they continue to roll over, or even worse, something like Netflix, if that were to break down, that means this whole move from May till end of the year is fluff. And I think, it's a scant attempt by probably hedge funds and bottom pickers to try to get in on Netflix on a discount. But if that's all it can do, that's all it can muster, I would be extremely concerned on any breakdown, take you back down to remeasure that range, retest that range. So I say this, and I went over these yesterday. Apple is there now, some of the bigger ones. Apple is back, full test of the zone, just shy of the hop level at 127.80. The low today, 129.89. You are hitting HSI oversold readings that should pop out in the next 2 days. Come in today, maybe tomorrow you could start to at least come out on the daily and start something. It is a type 2, and it would be a type 2 with confirmation, which is really what we want. That would have to be the scenario. I'm not saying that's going to happen. That's our minimum assumption because it's a type 2, target 2, but we still need the confirmation, preferably a check back and 2 more green candles after that. What I'm saying is you need development, bullish development that does not fail 127. You fail 127, you have much bigger problems for the whole market. Not only Apple. I mean, I think that's a real last ditch area after this year that says if you can't, you've got some patterns. You're retesting the 130, but you fail 130, and Apple's probably the stock that if it does the breakdown into next year and it trades 125, 120, forget it. That's what you're looking for. Probably the number one potential event going into January, and if it does, then you go back. Finally, you're going to start coming back on some COVID ranges for the last remaining leaders. Yeah, it's a type 2 on the daily, and today's your first day. I agree with that. We've been talking about this. There was a slew of these that were diving back in to do the retest. Here they are. Can you give me some confirmation? Maybe even a check back. I mean, we've done it here on the first reaction. You go from there. All right, there's HSI, and it even perfectly checks back and comes all the way back down. Now we've got the potential for the confirmation, which is here. I'm going to bring that. It's there for Apple, there for the amplified RSI, but not under 127. And I say this where if Apple trades under 127, that'd be I don't want to say catastrophic, but I would say maybe where the whole thing continues, like that the bat would fail, and this downtrend that started really over a year ago would take on the next leg. So be aware of what's going on, and Apple has been really sticking out because of how steady this downtrend has persisted in the last 3 months. Not just last 6 days, but you go back to these highs from October, can't really get above the target 1, target 2 area, and then the retest in November lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. So, and again, I say that I just as a side note, lower highs in a downtrend is probably better than lower lows. In an uptrend, uh, higher lows are better. It's kind of counter. It's usually opposite of what most people will say. In my opinion, if I'm in a downtrend, I want to see successive lower highs. Yes, the lower lows will come, but they come first with the lower highs. Same in the uptrend. Higher lows. Devin's saying it's right at the June lows. And it is. And what's it doing? I mean, look at Tesla. Remember the hop at 113? Maybe that's the day trade situation to play it till there. 141 on Tesla, kids. This is, let's just stick our pattern on it and go play it to the hop. Play it to the hop. And that's probably from now and the end of the year. Maybe just trigger 5-minute HSI signals. Wait for them bearish because you are in a free fall zone. There's nothing there on that, unfortunately. But maybe look at 5-minute HSI triggers. Use your extended hour chart and wait for the pops and the rolls, something like that. Because I think it's you get into these spots where we've had this massive Gartley. It was a 2 of 2 on a daily chart, a daily bat pattern, and failed the initial reversal and just straight on through. There's nothing there. I think the first stop we said was off the daily chart. What's the bat? There was a bat hop down here. Hold on one second. And this is kind of indicative of tax loss selling. Those that start to really fall apart and there's nothing there to step in. Nobody's putting in new money right now. And people that are tax loss selling are GTFO ting. Yeah, 177. That's what I was under 177 here for Tesla. And the daily HSI has been the problem ever since. We went down to the hop, formed the HSI, and then it got rejected with this bearish HSI we talked about. That was not even 2 weeks ago, barely 2 weeks ago. And this thing has fallen apart. I wouldn't. You're in the oversold with, again, on the daily with Tesla, but it's going day over day. It's going day over day. So it's vulnerable. Where let's just look at the pattern. I mean, the pattern, why not? If that's our framework and we know this is clearly collapsing where it should be stabilizing, then what's the next target? What's the next algo auto draw illustrated target? And where are you? That's I think maybe going into the last 10 days of the year, and that's where we are. Incredibly, pretty much everything will wrap up a week from Thursday. Friday, no one's really going to be around. But that's where these could free fall into. Again, I said this about PayPal too, where PayPal set up confirmation to retest some big daily bat pattern. It checked back. We're still waiting for one bullish candle or two bullish candles. Sorry. And that tends to make us think we could go run as low as the hop at 63, 64 before I would consider that. Today, maybe you get your first bullish green candle for the daily chart. But this is, look, I'm trying to stick to the framework pretty clearly, and it looks ugly where it needs to be looking better. But there's the early confirmation. There's the retest. It drops right through. Today's the first green candle. So I'm going to be patient with that, because en route to that second candle, we might get some bad stuff that says, maybe this just step aside or just wait on it. Here's ARK. ARK setting up. It's ARK with the shark. Okay, good old Kathy Wood, our friend. But what's going on here? Not a whole lot of productive, constructive stabilization. We did get HSI that, finally, after the bearish reading, you got the little reaction. Again, counter HSI signal negates the whole trade. That still put you from 34 to 39, but you see that and it just gets slammed right back down. You're out. But finally, here around 34, we've been talking about looking at 34. Just nothing has developed here. And then as I went through, I guess it was last Thursday, I went through that whole list. I said, well, with this kind of action, maybe let's just look at hop levels. I was saying that yesterday about the crypto. With a lot of these big patterns and this kind of price action, that's why the hop was created, because it can still be a true harmonic pattern, just be super ugly and take much longer than your ideal reaction. It's not all ideal. I mean, we're looking for ideal. We're trying to trace out, scan for it, but that's not what we have. And it doesn't take long to see that it's not ideal. You go 30 bars, it's just not happening. 30. The problem with ARK, okay, much like Tesla and the rest of them, from a pattern perspective on the weekly. And yes, the bigger the pattern, longer the time frame, the more significant it certainly is. And with ARK, beautiful bat pattern. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, amazing. From the COVID low. But failing, and the only HSI we have seen in the confirmation zone is a bearish reading that happened after the initial reaction. And straight down since. My concern is under 30, there's nothing. Under 29, there's nothing but that hop level, and why not go all the way to the hop at 15? Why not? Take a look at here's a HSI. And remember all the times, I know people that have been here a lot, where we say, HSI is nowhere to be found. It's not anywhere to confirm. There's a reason behind that. I mean, if it's not confirming, it's telling you the relative action is just not in the right position for the pattern to turn yet. And this is coming down after going sideways, not giving really any confirmation that as that drops, you're going to see that quickly, I think, target the hop level at 15. Could be a first quarter target. Under 29, forget it. So that is, that's where we are as these things continue to drag to new lows or close, at the low of the year after the entire year. It's not going to stop. We'll get into those others in a minute, for sure. I'll look at FX today, and I'll look at nat gas. Nat gas is checking back. Nat gas has just really just started. We talked about that for a while, but I'll bring it up. Mount Zion asks if we expect a reaction off the shark on ARK up to T1, but it doesn't make it before retesting XA or the hop. Do you interpret that as weak? I interpret it on the daily. Yes, there's the shark there. You're in the oversold area with HSI, so at least on the daily, you're starting to register, but you're not going to do a quick pivot out. This might even go as low as the 0. That's the blue line, light blue line right there is 0. HSI is about 4 at the moment. HSI runs 0 to 100. It can go above, it can go negative, and it can go above 100. Sometimes it can be as high as like 120. I've seen it, or minus 20. But usually we get it between the green line down here, that's 11.3 and 0. Or on the top side is 88.6 to 100. Here's the pattern. Sorry, let me blow that up. If we take away the shark, I think any standard technician would look at that and say, why are you even bothering? That's just a running correction as it heads lower, probably forms another leg. If I have confirmation down here, or even better, could get some kind of significant reversal, maybe I'd consider it. This is the retest of a lot of these zones that we've seen, but in the way that they've done it, like PayPal and the others, looks like they want to run them. And that means, you default to the larger time frame. Hey, it could go to 15. I'm not saying it's going to 15, but it could if we're going to follow the pattern framework. So we're not surprised, as crazy as it's been. The larger market, if we're going to break down, if we're going to have a continuation of this into 23, which we will to some extent, okay, that it's going to take a major breakdown in things like Apple and some of the other ones. I could see Apple and ExxonMobil, since those are two of the bigger Dow stocks, to break down, and that's how you get the Dow index down or S&P down. Okay, that's do take note of that chart on Apple, because if that breaks down, everything else will break down. Just no way getting around it. And Microsoft, same deal. Microsoft, here's the thing I wanted to share with everybody about Microsoft, and it's important that the crazy action that we had, we had an extreme wick action. I don't know if that had the extended hours. I'll have to take a look. 265.47 was the approximated target for a few patterns, not only this weekly pattern, and we almost hit it. I know we hit it in the aftermarket, 263.92. So if this is just from October to that crazy wick high, it's just a reaction, then we need to think about an XA retest. That this weekly scenario is going to put you into a 30-week window. Yes, 30 weeks. 30-week window where you could roll over, grind lower well into the spring. And even in the short term, this rollover follow through only has 216 retest. Okay, run any kind of trend line you want off of that low. But on the weekly chart, you close below, what's that? 238. That should get the whole thing going. It's that would be a 3-bar reversal, and then you just shoot the gap down to back down minimum to retest the pattern zone. If not, go lower to do some kind of confirmation. So look, it's that ugly, and the action of last week was that severe individually that where you are in the pattern suggests you have to retest these zones. You're going to continue to retest these zones. And my concern is that then what if that happens at a lower or even hop situation like Tesla does? Apple's showing us that it already did it. I think the Apple situation that it did run for its hop today, and that's the big deal. So be it. Here's the last one in that whole tech universe is Meta on the weekly. There's a few things here. They're on a different platform. 97 is a big number. I think 116 is pretty big. And if we can't hold this 116 level going into the end of the year, I'd be careful. This would be a sideways pause. It already is an ugly crab pattern. Let's just call it for what it is. Throw the 30-bar rule off the 30-bar ruler off the completion is there. What's that look like? 30 bars was a few weeks ago. And just straight down through the hop, and I don't a 3-bar reversal would give you the continuation to have this just keep going lower. Again, I don't think there's much here. And you could wait. If you were, let's say you were super bullish on Meta, you knew something no one knew. I would still wait for it to break out and show you something. It hasn't been able to do that here. In these really congested zones, it comes down, it stabilizes, and then just keeps going lower and keeps going lower. And that's really what we're seeing here. Do we just keep going lower on that? You're finishing pretty close. This one's a little bit better than most, but not by too much. There's your all-time chart for Meta. The all-time 886, incredibly, for Meta, just to throw it out there. I think it's 55 or 60. All-time 886. Doo-doo-doo. Yeah, it's 60. 58. So keep an eye on that. I definitely am a little concerned that Apple, if it can't put in some bullish candles going forward, you're going to start to break down, and that would be the event that really capitulates this market to full-on bear status of starting to do some serious damage. It's all in Apple. Keep an eye on that one. Let me jump over quickly to crude oil, gold, and before I do, listen, Thursday we'll give away some things. We'll do a Christmas holiday special, a couple of software subscriptions, and a couple of books. Also, everyone, we're going to probably do another one-off event at the end of January. I kind of like what happened. I think a lot of people got a lot of benefit out of the seminar we had then. So more information will be in the Discord about that coming up, as well as basic members page access there. Let's jump over quickly to dollar index and take a look at what happened to the yen. You had some major currency moves, a couple things, a couple of big patterns for sure were hit. Go to the daily. There you go. All right, here's dollar index. And I think I mentioned this last week. Massive daily bat pattern at 103. If we're looking for the whole dollar situation to change, okay, under 103, that's where it fails. And that could be a pretty big point. That's a lot like the interest rate chart I've been showing, where we have the same kind of pattern. It's trying to hold after a massive run, has a real nice bat retracement pattern, trying to uh, pause before, can we do a continuation like this? Can we get off of 103 and at least get back to 108? That would not be great for the markets, but for the dollar to at least stabilize after the correction from October, maybe. Maybe. So I think it's a good chart to look at, even if you don't trade it or don't trade currencies. We're hitting major levels. Let me go to the TradingView platform. Use the index itself, because same type of deal. Look, here's the big chart for dollar index futures. This is on our TradingView platform, and it's a type 2. Now, it's a shame because it's not. I don't think we're not going to get a check back this week. This month, sorry, will be a big 3-bar breakdown if we can close under 104.30. But here is the larger perspective. This is long-term chart. Still works the same way. Crab pattern from financial crisis all the way up till 2017 was the initial test. 15 goes into a type 1. You actually do 2 type 1s. Normally we would want to see that go to target 2 the second time, but this is a tertiary test. You do have HSI, but we treat that like a type 2. If you're at the hop here, and this is why this trade is one of the bigger smaller risk reward with a larger potential for reward to go from hop to target 2. Generally how I would look at that in any time frame. But I'll just be conservative and say target 1, put me back down to this static support. So you got a number of things there on monthly that have been oversold or overbought for a while. Here's that bat pattern on the TradingView platform. And again, 103. Really, you hit that 2-3 days ago. That has to hold. If that breaks down and fails, then it's a busted out pattern. It did not give you any confirmation on the initial test, but I'm looking at that in the same way as the interest rate chart. Let me show you the Japanese yen, because that was a big one. And if that's the start of, there's dollar yen. Yeah, that's a big one. This was, I think, a weekly crab. Hold on. There definitely some long-term. Yeah, this is a monthly crab, okay, and we haven't looked at this in a while. I'm trying to jog my memory. We had an HSI on the monthly. I knew it was something. There's a long-term setup here, but even if we just walk through the HSI, where okay, the monthly did get registered its first oversold reading back in July. Checked back. Kind of crazy, but all the way through. So second candle, bearish candle, obviously is going to come this month. And that's a pretty strong confirmation of saying this whole thing is done. Look for a 50%. maybe as much even as 886 all the way. Yeah, I wouldn't say 107, but I'd go with the 50% level. Back down to 127, 126 area from 131. Let's see what happens on dollar index, because that's the same deal as I've been mentioning this, the interest rate chart, the 2-year yield. And these aren't far from the real critical make or break levels. The problem is if they get going, here's your 10-year chart. Okay, great. There you go. You tell me. There's a similar situation. There's the 10-year. And tell me what it's done off of the pattern. You know, there's the pattern. It hit the hop 345. I think that's part of the reason what you're seeing currently. And even if that's a little check back bounce, target one is 389. That's not the kind of situation you want to go start the year with, but that's it. That's what's happening. I mean, that's a big development. If you were hoping that this interest rate scenario would abate and rates would start to break down, it would have to have been there, and it didn't. 2-year, same kind of thing. This is, yeah, here it is. The weekly on the 2-year is now giving a pretty abbreviated HSI, like a bullish HSI reading after a short-lived reaction. I mean, we look a heck of a move. Let me bring it up like this. So that's the rates for this year. We get overbought. I mean, only this, there's the first reading of the year, and it blew that out as an overbought reading. Okay, oversold, beautiful continuation. Little overbought reaction, lets some air out of the tires. Is the 2-year setting up for another continuation? That's 2-year yield, folks. 10-year yield has that pattern on it. Here's the daily. Not rolling over like maybe some people thought could happen. Again, 10-year yield, that does have this pattern, bat pattern. And not only the bat pattern, but this is where the larger patterns have significance. So check out the weekly. This is the 10-year yield. It's a little bit different than the 2-year yield. And I know a lot of people are talking about the 2-year yield because short-term rates are above long-term rates. For our sake, go with the patterns. All right, this big, beautiful bat pattern just had confirmation, bearish confirmation for this pattern. Didn't come in until about 4:30. And now we're trying to actually get a bullish reading in the bearish zone. What is that? That's a counter HSI signal. Yikes. Look what that would do for HSI coming out on the weekly, no less. So that weekly reading is giving you a bullish continuation on rates. Who feels happy? Minimum targets on that. Let's check back the last reading. Let's go to 4:30. Let's retest this zone. No doubt. That's an issue. That is an issue for markets and where stocks might head into January. This thing, if that pops over the next few days or into the end of the year, I'd be really concerned for the first week of January. If not, just pretty much look into position on some puts. Some of the things we talked about, some of the ones that if they roll over or fail, if Apple fails, under 127, there's, shoot for the 120 puts. Things like that, because there's nothing but air underneath there. I hope I'm wrong. I just, it's not, you don't want to say this stuff, but that's where you're at. Yeah, I think there's going to be, you've got too many of these things closing out the year at their lows. Um, okay, you guys have a bunch. So here's the deal. I'll look for some 5-minute stuff. I'll go look at a couple of requests here. If you guys have some requests, I see somebody wants to look at Chilliz. You guys want to look at Boyle, Nat Gas. We'll look at that. And then give me some recommendations. Thursday we're going to be super loose. It'll be kind of like an Ask Me Anything giveaway Thursday. I don't think I'll even rip through anything. I'll just say I'll open it up to you guys and you let me know what you want to look at. Okay, really quick. It was Moderna. Moderna is, you know, a company I personally have a problem participating in. Have to say that. I won't even get beyond that, but um, I do look at this and say stick with the patterns. You are up here with a type 2 shark on Moderna at 198, but it's been strong. And I've been looking at it. I really have. I've been looking at Moderna because I was like, well, maybe as much as I don't like what they do, maybe it's just here to stay. And they've got other applications. I've heard some things. People have said some things to me that, yeah, they're going to be able to do other things. So, all right. I think right now you're overbought with the bearish HSI signal, but you're trying to blow it out. Keep an eye on this thing. You're 200 at the moment. The prior high was 500, and that's a full game. I mean, there's obviously nothing but air. You clearly break above that range. I'm not saying you're doing it, especially because you're flashing a bearish HSI signal, but I respect that chart. So let's check it out. Couple of more. Caterpillar. Yeah, we're waiting for the check back on the weekly. Oh, there you go. Bang, got it. So Caterpillar is, I've shared this as one of our 3 ideas, and I haven't posted anything, excuse me, in the 3 ideas, but just because of some of them were longs, and the longs just are not, they're just not setting up properly. This one's a short that is, I think, setting up properly. It did check back. 235, what was the check back is 235.91. So that was hit. 236. You're 234 at the moment. The only thing I'm looking for, and this is a perfect example of being patient with the confirmation process, is that you checked back last week. Okay, I want to see one and then a second bearish candle, or even, break down under 225. If this is going to be a real devastating type 2, and I'll show you an example in a second of another position I talked about in the seminar. But 236 is a number there where you're saying that's it because you have confirmation. Still early. I would want to see one bearish candle minimum. Here's the other one that I was mentioning. It's Bristol Myers. Anybody that was at the seminar or even in the sessions I've been talking about, you tell me. So, that's Bristol Myers working out quite well. Go watch the seminar. Okay. If you want to check that out, get it, hook up on the Discord. I'll put that, I think I'll put it in the Discord, the education. and maybe upload that. Give me a week. But Bristol Myers is right on cue. And I'm looking for this to go at least back down to the next HSI or even easy retest structural support. 66, 68. Do check that out. I think it's important. Things I was saying about Bristol Myers in that seminar. And here's the obvious HSI trending lower, still with a ways to go. That's more the scenario we want to see. Couple more. Okay. How much time do I have? Not much. I'll go a couple minutes, really quick crypto rundown. Okay, crypto. Remember back in 2021? Number one, Ethereum. Okay, trying to hold 1225 is just, good luck. Again, we've been going with the fact that it's it's a Gartley pattern. There it is. Here's the Gartley, and continue to do so. Continue to. That's on the Bitstamp feed, by the way. And I don't expect much from this. I actually think this is going to make its way down to the hop. You almost registered an HSI, but I just think it's losing its mojo. Here's the secondary retest from, that was the type 2. Okay. There's 30 bars. Tell me what it's doing. Sideways to down. It's sideways to down after 30 bars. It starts to lose its mojo. And I went into kind of a whole conversation yesterday about how I just think it's better to wait for the cataclysmic, just absolute scenario. If you really want to bargain in crypto, it's going to come at a fraction of these prices. And if I don't get it at a fraction of these prices, then I don't want it. That's how I'm treating it. BNB, look, it's still harmonic. Amazing that it hit BNB, hit the ABCD target at 1228. Or it was the BAT target, this 1228.49. And we've stabilized. Okay. BNB is actually even on the daily trying to check back. There you go. And then put in what? One more green candle after today would, by definition, I would respect that. I do think that, this thing could grind for a while and you could go back to, say, 266. But I just think you are starting a continuation of what really happened with this nonsense up at 360 to 380, that this is a continuation of basically all year, the sideways action, you now go lower and just finish the cycle. Finish the 886 cycle. That looks like this. All time. BNB. Actually, let me just trace it out. It's not the most distinct or ideal of M formations, but you could make one out where you hit it at the 886 at around $81, $82. Number 3, Bitcoin. Hold on, let me fix this. This is just the whole thing. Bitcoin, same type of deal. I talked about why I think you need to form a pattern. I want to see a big pattern develop like you have on a lot of these other crypto and then go sideways for a while. There it is. Look, both of these patterns from 2018 and 2020 completed, gave you plenty of time before the massive move happened. If you're a Bitcoin enthusiast, please take this to heart. I don't mean any disrespect to Bitcoin or what you're trying to do. Just save your money and get as much Bitcoin at the right price. And that's at an 886. The software is not generating it because you're not close enough to the, maybe if I had a pending pattern, it might, but you connect the dots in the same way it did the last 3-4 cycles. You end up with Bitcoin running down to that 886 off the COVID low at around 11,000. And that's it. And I do that every time with Bitcoin. That, for a long time when we were at 35, 33,000, I said, look, there's some things that maybe at 20 something it could retest. Now it's just, look, give me another pattern. Give me another M-shaped harmonic pattern, and those possibilities are only an 886 at 11,000 minimum. And as I talked about yesterday, and I do think this is kind of a rule, that if we're all going to use the patterns, especially in crypto, if you're looking for long opportunities, go off the hop. Okay, use the hop on the downside because that's a good effective overspill level, and that's 8,700 on BTC. That's it. Speaking of hop, we've seen that in Doge. Look what Doge is doing. Okay, we talked about Doge, had a 4-hour pattern, couple of patterns. This is going to run to the hops here. 6 cents, 6.5 cents. So we've been talking about that since 10 point whatever, 10.8 up in here, and then you're all the way back down there. Same deal. Doge has a daily HSI reading where you're checking. You've already checked back yesterday, and today you've got a green candle. So maybe somewhere down here, maybe you don't get down to 6.8. I've been saying 7.5 is a big minimum number. Let's call it 7, but it's got to hold 7. Yeah, and if Bitcoin and the rest do what they're going to do, I don't know how that happens. Don't know. The last one is Solana. Just watching this for single digit watch is a better way to say it. Just look, the last HSI on the daily, lower, down. There's nothing here except for, as we said, the big weekly patterns. We're just failing these zones. That's such a beautiful pattern, and you had confirmation all the way back in June. Amazing, where you went from 30 up to 47. But how many times have we seen this? The counter HSI to come in and just say, all right, your reaction is over. Sorry, time to leave. And you have not generated anything since, even with that kind of a candle and the action the last several weeks. There's nothing here. Someone asked for Chilliz, and we've been talking about that because it gave the perfect type 2. It did the ideal type 2. Here's the pattern. All the way back from the initial stuff from May and June, all the way up. And even at 20 something cents, we're saying it's got to come back for the retest 11.3. Well, there you are. You're 11.24 cents. So that's maybe a starting point. I'm not crazy about it yet, just because of the rest of everything is just not. It's just not doing anything. I mean, it would be. I think almost irresponsible of me to say put any new money into any of this. And the crypto guys that are out there who are still recommending projects, they're not looking at charts. They are not looking, and nor do they need to. So I would just another scenario here where if you're running the software and you really love Chilliz, wait for the hop. Wait for the hop, 5.4 cents, 5.5 cents, because it's a perfect type 2. It's come all the way down after an extended type 1. But that we have followed that for ever and a day. Yeah, I want to finish up with crypto with the total market cap. And I'll go to gold, sure. Here's total. It's giving you a shark pattern, but it's going to the hop. Just book it. Just book that this whole consolidation zone of the shark needs to run to the hop. That's 649 billion and generate some kind of HSI signal. It's not, it's almost back down there again, but I think it's not going to take much. And literally by next week, I mean, they're obviously dumping tax loss reasons. They're dumping crypto. That we're going to come into this zone, maybe not 649, but maybe 708. Hit the 113 of the shark before the end of the year. All right, that's looking at like 10% lower. No, Evan, I hear you, but we gotta let go of it. Evan's saying if we could get a few green days in crypto, that would be nice. I don't. You're not going to get a few green days. You're not getting it in the same way that look at what they did to cannabis. Okay, just another sector that they're letting bleed. So check that out. I mean, there's just some areas that are bleeding that are going to go. They have to go away. And some of these are in your favorite cryptos. All of our larger patterns are still lower. And it wouldn't mess with it. And the 886 is really, again, the all-time cycle moves for your total crypto index is like the Bitcoin scenario. It's held up, but has to come to its 886. That whole cycle, 886 cycle retracement, that's 433, 434, 434 billion, folks. I think these are minimum targets for early January. Yeah. Quickly, in light of gold, in light of the dollar and all those few interest rate stuff, what's gold doing? Commodities, precious metals. There's COMEX, gold futures. I know the daily, we have some patterns down here. There you go. Bat pattern. About to hit target 1, this was drawn way back when, but it's a target 1, 1841. And I think last time we were talking about this, I mentioned that December, especially the last 2 weeks, seasonally is pretty good for gold. And then starts to roll over. Maybe that's a Christmas holiday thing. I don't know. But 1841 is our target 1, and let's see where HSI can register. I'm not thinking much on gold. I'm not really, not looking for anything huge. I think if you look at rates, if rates continue to go up, this target 1 at 1841 could be stiff resistance. So be aware of that. Just be aware that not to mention, we've been stuck in a range for the better part of a few years since we made this top out move. Your long-term range is like 1700 on the top side, and 2000 or 2000 at top and 1700 on the as support. Interesting that both of those bat patterns, look at here's the gold chart. Both of them, this bat pattern and that bat pattern, both have hop levels at 1620, 1615. So if gold's going to fail, I mean, if gold's really going to do something bad, it's under 1600. Just put that in your hat. Yeah, under 1600, then it becomes a real disaster for gold. Dave, connect with Stephanie HT. Get on the Discord. Dave is asking. He wants to connect. He's got lots of questions and wants to connect with other Harmonic traders. Dave, the place to go and start is Harmonic Trader Basic Membership, which is free. Go to harmonictrader.com and access the Discord. Now, someone told me, is this true? Is this Discord link not working for some people? So let me know if that's the case. It should work. I don't know. I'll have to take a look. If not, I'll update the link. But everything else that you need is here on Basic Members and the books. Also, if you're new, get with the TradingView. I say start with the TradingView because everyone is on TradingView. Get with the TradingView software. Send your TradingView username to hpc@sr-analyst.com. Couple more. Let me bring up Nat Gas because I know you guys are, a lot of people are following that and should be following it because I think Nat Gas is becoming as important as crude oil, the energy market. There's NG. Okay, here's the check back. What's it doing on the check back? Check back just happened, literally 567. Didn't we? This is exactly what we said a week ago. Maybe it was 10 days ago. No, 12 days ago. I mean, literally right after that set up, we looking for the check back at 570. You're 430, but the check back just happened. So we're now looking, let this settle out. You're probably 2 bullish days, 2 bullish candles away from getting this to do a turnaround. It is a type 2. Okay, you're just early in the confirmation process. There's type 1, back up to 738. Now you're back down. 470 was the check back. All right, see where this closes today. You're 430. You're looking in here. I mean, no doubt, you're looking in here for 2 bullish candles. Under $5 would be pretty sweet. So just early in the confirmation process. 1 or 2 more. Oh, check it out. All right, I'm going to circle back with their good old SPY. All right, so here's a 5-minute, another HSI. I'm going to leave you folks with this. This is something I've been trying to introduce a bit more of ways to be looking for opportunities using even just simple HSI, or you come into a market on a 5-minute basis. Here's the simple strategy I've been outlining. We did a lot of work on it on Saturday. Is looking at patterns with the HSI arrow. But the simple strategy is just to look for this arrow, okay, and the retest check back as the opportunity with 1 and 2 bearish candles for confirmation. But the key is at the check back point, having that respond. That's your target entry area, and then we have another opportunity right now. So let's see how this, it's 122. Okay, so we have a check back here. Just happened at, we measure, by the way, for the bearish reading, you're measuring the price bar high and projecting that across. It's 381.27. If it was a bullish reading like down here, you look at that trigger bar low and look for the retest of the low of that extreme. In that case, it was 379.35. So here's a great instance where you're coming into a retest. You check back, your second candle. So in effect, you're really in a window of it to be go time at the close of that candle. So what happens? All right, we have 2 bullish candles. Am I taking my shots in here? I don't have a pattern. Maybe break it down. Because what you're looking for is that 5-minute signal for this to be the high of the day and this to fail that prior high. I mean, that's pretty much the declining arrows even show that. But do we have a pattern? The other thing I was saying last week was to run 5-minute HSI signals with 30-second intraday charts just to see if you can get a pattern. I don't have a pattern here. I wish I had a pattern up here. But 5-minute SPY, yeah, it looks like I would still be looking for this check back at what, 381.20 as an important potential pivot point for the afternoon. You're 124 right now. Haven't done anything on it. Looks like it's going to blow out, but here's something else you might want to consider. If this stalls out, this happened the other day. This happened where I think it was on Thursday. Kind of got the price action to go sideways for a while before it tailed off. Maybe give it another bar or two, break down, obvious uptrend like that. I think 381.20. Okay, and futures are trading what? Futures are only up 10. So S&P about the same. But if we get a rollover here or 3-bar reversal, again, in the next 15, 20 minutes, that's a way to look at this. Let me see the QQQs. The Qs are basically flat on the day as well. Nothing. What about let me look at a 30-second chart here on the Qs. Nothing. Nothing really. All right, here's the last. Check out, much like the S&P, you had a few HSI signals on the 5-minute, but this did not have a check back. So you had a bullish reading here in the morning, no check back, and no pattern. Let me look. Oh, here, let me bring up the. We did have this on. Here's futures, S&P futures chart on a 5-minute. This is E signal. Okay, we had this bat pattern right now. Okay, so that. Let me clean this up. Perfect type 1 reaction in the pre-market down to target 1, and then came back up above the hop right after the open, did not get to target 1, and actually we're since that, I mean, was a nice drop, but you would be looking for target 1 literally 38.20. Now you're back here. Okay, can we read? Well, it looks like it's going to break out. But you do have a 5-minute pattern on the futures. The SPY wasn't showing that. So I'm looking, maybe retest the hop at 38.59, 38.60. You're there right now. Let's see here. No action yet, though. But looking with the pattern, with HSI, all right, let it check back. Let it do a roll of 3-bar reversal. We haven't even had that yet since the check back. You had a, there you go. Looks like this. So last 3 bars since your last 3-bar range is like that is the low, 38.50. Let me go back to the SPY chart. Yeah, it looks like it's trying to break out. Nothing yet. Um, give it a little time. Give it a little time. We're still on that morning uptrend. Still, and I think I really don't think much of today's bounce, quite frankly. Let me go back to that Nvidia chart. All right, interesting little 5-minute setup on Nvidia, and this is about to finish in about 1 minute. All right, there's a little bit of there's a bullish check back. 1, 2 green candles. What do we have down here though? There you go. Well, I knew we had it's ugly, but it's a type 2 crab. Check it out. So this could be something with Nvidia, type 1, all the way back down to the hop. There's your confirmation. All right, that's a little bit better. That's where when you have a pattern, you have some numbers to go off of, like 160.74. That's your minimum structural level, your confirmation on this 5-minute chart around 160. And it's a type 2, so you would look for target 2 at 165.22. This is just a day trade, just something to frame out, to look for if this you've got a pattern here. All right, I'm not really hot on this market right now, but if I'm looking for a day trade, that could be something. Before I get out of here, and I've gone a while, I do want to look at Tesla again, because Tesla concerns me with a lot of these, where when we started today, it was basically at session lows for the year. Here you go. Yeah, lows for the year. Let me go to the weekly chart. This is again, I want to really focus on how deep this gets into the hop level on Tesla. Where is this? Oh, hold on one second. Hold on. Tesla and Apple are probably number 1 and number 2 to be looking at. If Tesla goes into a free fall, Apple could do much the same. I just don't want to see Apple again take out 127, or I think the larger indices are going to get hit. Tesla doesn't have nearly the influence as say Apple, but I think we could look at Tesla at this hop level at 113 to happen before the end of next week. By the end of the year, or certainly first week of January, if this just does a week over week free fall into the zone. And look at where HSI is. Again, this is confounding that HSI isn't close to giving us the register after the pattern completes. So a lot of things here where it's not getting better. You're expanding in the oversold territory, and the logical number is 113. Play it, keep that. Play it like the 5-minute stuff I've been showing. That's the thing I think take shots on. 5-minute pop and rolls, or even this bat pattern. It's just, it's so ugly, but maybe if it could come up to 149 and then get rejected, something like that. I'm surprised to see this, but it's a lot like, check out before I go, cannabis stocks, which were up a week or so ago. Trulieve, amazing. This was one of the leaders. Okay, this shows you what can happen when these patterns bust out, and you just terrible price action. This was 15 a week ago. It's now 7. And it's not just cannabis. It's just so many of these busted categories are in a terrible position that are not, no time soon are going to give it up. No time soon. Last one, Teladoc. Again, another one. We've been looking for this thing to drop back into the zone. I'll say hop. Let's just go. It's a type 2 deep crab, but I'll look towards the hop. And I think that's the the current situation with all of these. Go to the hop. They're going to retest these patterns no matter what. All right, demand confirmation. Demand it happens close to the hop, and then you're scraping the edge of possibility where at least your risk is substantially reduced. So check that out. Listen, Thursday we'll be back. Give away some software, give away some books, do a holiday session. We'll keep it loose. Come with your questions, and we'll see what we come up with. I mean, do an Ask Me Anything. All right? Thanks, everybody. Great session. I'm going to announce some of the updates, too, I think, on Thursday of some of the changes. So be here. It'll be an interesting session. And until then, as always, go get them. We'll see you Thursday, 12 noon Eastern.